Forgot, I can't actually sleep. I guess I'm gonna have to eat this one, huh? Well, my bad, my mistake. Nothing can be done. Strength, intelligence, agility. Well, the agility upgrade is nice, and the strength increased just as much.
How
We'll have to do this some other
interesting.
time.
A tourist.
Shut the fuck up. You want some goblets? Here's some goblets. Goblets, these nuts. It doesn't even work. It feels like shit, honestly. Well, my brain's gotten a little bigger. Yeah, I know. There's assassins in the walls. Alright, do we have any quests? Bragging rights. Hull's Hull. By the time I make the great escape. Do I feel like I can fight a taxman? I mean, I get a lot of money for it. Honestly, my biggest thing is just willpower is what's carrying me. The only reason I can cast any spells whatsoever. Sir, at some point you'll love me. Got a lot of money for that first, though. Sir, do you have some really good booze? I'll settle for... I can't afford it. Alright.
Do you want something?
Yeah. I want to kick your ass.
You will suffer greatly.
Also, I need to freeze up.
Die, Fletcher.
Justice wouldn't serve the. Well, since you're dead, I'm allowed to take your stuff now. Like, I'm not allowed to steal from the living, but the dead are entirely reasonable targets. Do I? Like, the problem is, I don't want to read this book until I'm ready for it, you know? Like, I've already read chapters. Let's wrap up this quest and then have some fun reading. Would you like your husband's ring? Thank you. Oh, that's actually pretty nice. Cool. Thanks. I really do like the guard is now a bit more diverse. People always bitch about diversity, but man, it just spices up the place. Here, I solved the murder. Give me 500 doubloons. I'll be leaving the way I came in. Don't mind me. I'm just leaving the place. Couldn't help but notice your door doesn't work. Don't mind me. I'm not gonna read a book in the rain. That's how you get a damaged book. We're gonna sit in this corner and we're gonna read a book. A Dance in Fire, Chapter 6 by Waughin Jarth. Decamus Scotty sat down, listening to Lytus Juris. The clerk could hardly believe how fat his former colleague at Lord Atreus's building commission had become. The piquant aroma. The piquant? I know it is piquant. The piquant aroma of the roasted meat dish before Scotty melted away. All the other sounds and textures of Perthala Hall vanished all around him, as if nothing else existed but the vast form of Juris. Scotty did not consider himself an emotional man, but he felt a tide flow over him at the sight and sound of the man whose badly written letters had been the guidepost that carried him from the Imperial City back in early Frostfall. Hey, hold on. Where you been? Juris demanded again. I told you to meet me in Felicity weeks ago. I was there a week ago, Scotty stammered, too surprised to be indignant. I got your notes to meet you in Athe, so I went there, but the Khajiit burned it down to the ground. Somehow found my way with the refugees in another village, and someone there told me that you've been killed.
You believed that right away.
Juris sneered. A fellow seemed very well informed about you. He was a clerk in Lord Vinek's building commission named Reglius. And he said that you also suggested that he come down to Valenwood to profit from the war. Oh,
Yes,
said Juris, after thinking a moment.
I recall the name now. Well, it's good for business to have two representatives from the Imperial Building Commission here, because we're going to all need to coordinate all the bids, and it should be well.
Reglius is dead, said Scotty, but I have his contracts from Lord Vaccan's commission.
Even better, gasped Juris, impressed. I never knew you were such a ruthless competitor, Decimus, Scotty. Well, this will certainly improve our position in the silver now. Have I introduced you to Bast here?
Scotty had only been dimly aware of the Bosma's presence at the table with Juris, which was surprising given that the Mer's girth nearly equaled his dining companion. The clerk nodded to Bast coldly, still numb and confused. It had not left his mind that only an hour earlier Scotty had intended to petition Sylvanar for safe passage through the border back to Cyrodiil. The thought of doing business with Jarth, after all, of profiting of Valenwood's war with elsewhere, and now the second one with Somerset Isles, seemed like something happening to another person. Your colleague and I were talking about the Sylvanar, said Bast, putting down the leg of mutton that he'd been gnawing on. I don't suppose you've heard of his nature? A little, but nothing specific. I got the impression that he's very important and very peculiar.
He's a representative of the people, legally, physically, and emotionally, explained Juris. And the little point that his new partner's lack of common knowledge.
Oh, explained Juris, a little annoyed at his partner's lack of common knowledge.
When they're healthy, so is he. When they're mostly female, so is he. When they cry for food or trade or the absence of foreign interference, he feels it too. He makes the laws accordingly. In a way, he's a despot, but he is the people's despot.
That sounds, said Scotty, searching for the appropriate word, like bunk. Perhaps it is, struck Bast. But he has many of the rights as the voice of the people, including the granting of foreign building and trade contracts. It's not important, whatever you believe us. Just think of the Sylvanar as being one of your mad emperors like Pelagius. Oh, is that what Pelagius named after? The problem facing us now is that since Valenwood is being attacked on all sides, the Sylvanar's aspect is one of disgust and distrust and fear of the foreigners. The one hope of his people, and thus of Sylvanar itself, is that the Emperor will intervene and stop the war. Will he? Asked Scotty. You know as well... Oh, let me see, is this him?
You know as well as we do that the Emperor has not been himself lately.
Juris helped himself to Reglius' satchel and pulled out the blank contract.
Who knows what he'll choose to do and not to do? Realities is not our concern. But these blessings from the late good Sir Reglius will make our job much easier.
They discussed how much they would represent themselves to Sylvanar in the evening. Scotty ate continuously, but not nearly as much as Juris or Bast. When the sun had begun to rise on the hills, its light rending through the crystal walls of the tavern, Juris and Bast had left their rooms at the palace. They had left 2 of their rooms in the palace, granted to them diplomatically in lieu of an actual intermediate audience with Sylvanar. Scotty went to his room. He thought about staying up a little longer to ruminate over Juris' plans and see what might be the flaw in them, but upon reaching the cool, soft bed, he immediately fell asleep. The next afternoon, Scotty awoke, feeling himself again. In other words, timid. For several weeks now, he had been a creature bent on mere survival. He'd been driven to exhaustion, attacked by several jungle beasts, starved, nearly drowned, and forced into discussions of ancient Altmeri poetical works. Ah, you! Gross! Poor man! The discussion he had with Juris and Bast about how to dupe Sylvanar deciding their contract seems perfectly reasonable then. Scotty dressed himself in his old battered clothes and went downstairs in search of food and a peaceful place to think. You're up, cried Bast on seeing him. We should go to the palace now. Now? Oh, look at me, I need new clothes. This isn't a way to dress around someone who... This isn't the way one should dress to pay a call on a prostitute, let alone the voice of the people of Valenwood who haven't yet bathed. You must cease from this moment forward being a clerk, and become a student of the mercantile trade, said Lytus Juris.
You must cease from this moment forward to be a clerk and become a student of the mercantile trade,
Elias Juris said grandly, taking Scotty by the arm and leading him towards the sunlit boulevard side.
The first rule is to recognize that you represent the prospect to the prospective client and what angle best suits you. You cannot dazzle him with opulent fashion and professional bearing, my dear boy. And it would be fatal if you attempted to do so. Trust me on this. Several others beside Bastard are guests at the palace, and they made the error of appearing too eager, too formal, too ready for business. They will never be granted audience with Sylvanar, but we have remained aloof ever since our initial rejection.
Wait, since the initial rejection? Ever since initial rejection. Ah, because they weren't granted immediate audience.
I dallied around the courts, spread my knowledge of life in the Imperial City, had my ears pierced, attended promenades, eaten, drunk, all that was given to me. I dare say I put out a pound or two. But the message we've sent is clear. It is his, not our, best interest to meet.
because you're just... Jesus.
Our plan worked, said Bast. When I told his minister that our Imperial representative had arrived and that we were at least willing to meet with the Sylvanar this morning. We were told to bring you there right away.
Aren't we late then? Asked Scotty.
Very, laughed Jarth. But that's again part of the angle we're representing. Benevolent disinterest. Remember not to confuse Sylvanar with conventional nobility. He is the mind of the common people. You grasp that, you understand how to manipulate him.
Juris spent the last several minutes of the walk through the city expounding on his theories of what Valen would needed, how much, and at what price. They were staggering figures, far more construction and higher cost than anything Scotty had been used to dealing with. He listened carefully. All around them, the city of Sylvanar revealed itself, glass and flower, roaring winds, and beautiful inertia. Ooh. When they reached the palace of Sylvanar, Decimus Scotty stopped, stunned. Juris looked at him for a moment and then laughed.
It's quite bizarre, isn't it?
That it was. A frozen scarlet burst of twisted, uneven spires, as if a rival sun was rising. A blossom the size of the village, where courtiers and servants resembled nothing so much as insects, walked about it, sucking its ichor. Entering over a bent petal-like bridge, the three walked through the palace's unbalanced walls. Where the partitions bent close together and touched, there was a shaded hall or small chamber. Where they warped away from one another, there was a courtyard. There were no doors anywhere, no way to get to Sylvanar but by crossing through the entire spiral of the palace, through meetings, bedrooms, and dining halls, past dignitary, consorts, musicians, and many guards.
This is an interesting place, said Bast, but not very much privacy. Of course, that suits the Sylvanar well.
When they reached the inner corridors 2 hours after they first entered the palace, guards brandishing blades and bows stopped them.
We have an audience with the Sylvanar,
said Juris patiently.
This is Lord Decimus Scotty, the Imperial representative.
One of the guards has been down the winding corridor and returned a moment later with a tall, proud Bosmer, clad in a loose robe of patchwork leather. He was the Minister of Trade.
The Sylvanar wishes to speak with Lord Decimus Scotty alone.
It was not the place to argue or show fear, so Scotty stepped forward, not even looking towards Juris or Bast. He was certain they were showing their mask of benevolent indifference. Following the minister into the audience chamber, Scotty recited to himself all the facts and figures that Juris had presented him. He willed himself to remember the angle and the image he must project. The audience chamber of the Sylvanar was an enormous dome where the walls bent from a bowl shaped at the base to meet inward. Oh wait, what? The audience chamber of the Sylvanar was an enormous dome where the walls bent from bowl shaped at the base inward to almost meet at the top. I don't get it. A thin ray of sunlight streamed through the fissure, hundreds of feet above, and directly upon the Sylvanar, who stood upon a puff of shimmering grey powder. For all the wonder of the city and the palace, the Sylvanar himself was perfectly ordinary. An average, blandly handsome, slightly tired-looking, an average, blandly handsome, slightly tired-looking, and extraordinary wood elf, the type one might see in any capital of the Empire. It was only when he stepped from the dais that Scotty noticed the eccentricity in his appearance. He was very short.
I had to speak with you alone,
said Sylvanar, in a voice common and unrefined.
May I see your papers?
Scotty handed him the blank contracts from Lord Veckenak's building commission. The Sylvanar studied them, running his finger over the embossed seal of the Emperor before handing them back. He suddenly seemed shy, looking to the floor.
There are many charlatans at my court who wish to benefit from the wars. I thought you and your colleagues were among them, but these contracts are genuine.
Yes, they are, said Scotty calmly. The Sylvanar's conventional aspect made it easy for Scotty to speak, with no formal greetings, no deference, exactly as Juris had instructed. it seems most sensible to begin straight away talking about the roads which need to be rebuilt, and then the harbors that the Almeri destroyed, and then I can give you my estimates on the cost in resupplying and renovating my trade routes.
Why hasn't the Emperor seen fit to send a representative when the... What? Why hasn't the Emperor seen fit to send a representative when the war with Elsewhere began 2 years ago? Asked Sylvanar glumly.
Scotty thought for a moment before replying. Of all the common Bosmer he had met in Valenwood, the greedy, frightened mercenaries who had escorted him from the border, the hard-drinking revelers, and expert pest exterminator archers across the western cross of Felonsty, knows the old mother Pascot in the Havel slump, Captain Balfix, the poor, sadly reformed pirate who died to right, the terrified but hopeful refugees of Athe and Grenos, the mad, murderous, self-devouring wild hunt of the Vindacy, the silent, dour boatman hired by Griff Melon. Oh man, we got so much story left to learn about this guy. Dang, dude, this guy's had a life. The degenerate, grasping Bast. If one creature represented that total disposition, and that many more throughout the province, what would be his personality? Scotty was a clerk by occupation and nature, instinctively comfortable, cataloging and filing, making things fit in the system. If the soul of Valenwood were to be filed, what would be put? The answer came upon him almost before he posed himself the question. Denial. I'm afraid that question doesn't interest me, said Scotty. Now, can we get back to the business at hand? He's picked it up perfectly. All afternoon, Scotty and the Sylvanar discussed the pressing needs of Valenwood. Didn't he talk about this? Oh no, he just thought. Or did he tell him that? All afternoon, Scotty and the Sylvanar discussed the pressing needs of Valenwood. Every contract was filled and signed. So much was required, and there were so many added costs associated that the addenda and codicils had to be scribbled into the margins of the paper, and those had to be re-signed. Scotty maintained his benevolent indifference, but he found that dealing with a Sylvanar was not quite the same as dealing with a simple, sullen child. The voice of the people knew certain practical, everyday things well. The yields of fish, the benefits of trade, the condition of every township and the forest in his province.
We will have a banquet tonight. We'll have a banquet tomorrow night to celebrate this commission, said the Sylvanar at last.
Best make it tonight, replied Scotty. We should leave for Cyrodiil with the contracts tomorrow, so I'll need safe passage aboard. We best not waste any more time.
Agreed, said Sylvanar,
and he called forth his Minister of Trade to put the seal on the contracts and arrange for the feast. Scotty left the chamber and was greeted by Bast and Juris. Their faces showed the strain of maintaining the illusion of unconcern for too many hours. As soon as they were outside of the cart, they begged Scotty to tell them all. When he showed them the contract, Bast began weeping with delight.
So, how do you think about the Sylvanar that just surprised you?
I hadn't expected him to be half my height.
Was he?
Juris looked mildly surprised.
He must have shrunk since I tried to have an audience with him earlier. Maybe there's something about all that nonsense of him being affected.
Maybe there is something to all that nonsense about him being affected by the plight of his people. Oh, that's awesome. That's so goofy. All right, well, what were we doing again in the video game?
I do enjoy a good conversation.
Like the one guy in the world who likes me. 1 in a million, buddy. 1 in a million. This is Journeyman's lockpick. Let me see. What are we up to? I don't want to go there because that water is dangerous and everything. Let's go talk to that guy. In fact, I'm not. If I had 100 drakes, it'd be the next boat to Narcissus. All he has is a cursed ring. You know what? Here you go. I like that his disposition doesn't go up. Anyway, we got a cursed ring worth 100 drakes. It increases. It hurts me. This ring hurts me.
Stay out of trouble and you won't get hurt.
So the ring kills me, and then lets me run faster for a little while. That's, I guess, interesting.
Let's get this over with.
Dude, I just paid your goddamn boat fare out of this joint.
Yes?
This cart's better look out. You 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 better. Yeah, I think that bag must have been some sort of mod. I think it was always like full of goodies too. Too many goodies. So what are we doing actually? Ugh. Can I... Wait. No, I need 30 endurance too. Oh, shit. I can't join the Fighters Guild yet, can I? Or the Thieves Guild, because I'm still super sucky. Big ol' sucky wucky. Just a bait. Oh yeah, I took the ring back out of the box. That's why.
Ask or get going.
What do my feeties look like that? What do my feeties look like that? What is there to do actually? You know what? With how bad everything else is going on around here.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, all right. Two more levels and I get my first luck increase, and I have to decide it's going to be 10 or 5.
Why walk when you can ride?
Still. I've never looked at these guys as... That's not a face.
What was that?
You are more repulsive than I thought. Ugh. Where's your pooper? Where's your pooper, buddy?
Why walk when you can ride?
Please take me over to Vivek.
Where would you like to go?
Oh, there's a neat little bridge here. Cool.